Afternoon, it's Christine again from Disability Equals Ability. Happy New Year to all my listeners and followers. Right, I'm going to actually talk about the behaviour and how a conversation can start with a disabled person. Some families have actually got disability in the family, be it an elderly relative in a wheelchair or hard of hearing, or in the other spectrum where they've got a child that is disabled, and if they have more than one sibling, the sibling is used to their disabled brother or sister or whatever, and so they have no fears of talking to somebody like myself. But most people, again, it's the older age group, where I include myself in that, are scared because they don't know how to approach a person like me. When I was working, I noticed, I used to do reception in the health, and I noticed when people looked at me, they thought, she's got something wrong with her. She might not be able to talk. And when I opened my mouth and spoke to them, and we had a perfectly normal conversation, the shock on their faces was hilarious, really. And it busted a few myths. But as regards social situations, i.e. going out after work, they didn't want to know. Because if you're on your own, they know that they've got to help you, and they actually can't or won't. You do miss out on social occasions. With a child, if that child has a relative, grandma or granddad, that is disabled in a way, i.e. they're blind or had a stroke, they can relate to that. And also, a lot of children nowadays, if there is another sibling, brother or sister in the family, they may be disabled, and then it is easier for the parents to explain to them what is wrong, and they have to have more help than they do. This actually can stop the jealousy, because if you think, oh, I was the first job, I should have the love, not my sister or my brother, it stops you thinking that you're the only person that matters. They can grow together and become best friends, and like they're your best buddy. I know I wished I'd had a brother or sister myself. I mean, I treat a couple of my friends like my sisters, and also as well, they can stand up for you, like at school. If you are being bullied, which is not very nice, they can intervene. I'm not saying go in and do this, but tell your teacher that the child can take their sibling away if they're in a wheelchair and say, come and play with my group of friends. And the child can say, well, she can talk, but she can't talk in the way we can. And explain, like, she has a different voice, or in the case of mental disability, she has to communicate different ways, then they can understand. And also the teaching assistants could come in here as well, because if they've been employed to look after that child, they can explain to the other children in the class that are on their feet that when they ask questions, that they can explain in more simple terms, so that if they want to, if there's an activity in a group that they're doing, and the teaching assistant can actually encourage the children to come into the group with the disabled person, the disabled child, to foster their confidence, and this also helps them make new friends. When I left school, and as I say, I went to an able-bodied school, which a lot of my time, a normal school, I benefited from it because I got homework, which I had to do twice a night, and I learned such a lot more, and I learned things about myself that I could push myself. I was never treated that, oh, we have to treat you with kid gloves. I did all my chores around the house, what I could do. And if I wanted to go anywhere, I would be taken. In fact, they never stopped me. Guides, I was a brownie when I was at school, into a normal guide unit, and I was actually patrol leader, then into a normal ranger and venture scout unit. And when I was 21, I actually got the Star of Merit, which is the highest award in guiding, and actually it was kept from me for about a year because people that were in my unit were writing letters about me to say how I was, how I am. I never dwell on my disability. The worst thing a disabled person can do is dwell on things and say, oh, woe is me, I'm poorly, I need help. If you can do even the tiniest thing yourself, do it. And also with work, there are so many work programs out, and there are organisations that will try and put a person like myself or any other disabled person to work. We are loyal and we do more work. We are very, very hard working. I wish, really, that a lot of things I do regret not doing, but that was through my own stupidity, because I would be a lot more okay now than what I am with certain tasks. So even I've got limitations. But the gesture, I mean, if you had a workplace, and I've suggested it so much, if you were in a wheelchair for a day and you had to negotiate things like the lift, the stairs, or to even press a button that was too high, you would know how awkward it is for us. And all we ask is, if you give us a chance, we have the right capabilities. We are mentally capable. A lot of us are mentally capable, but physically capable we're not. But there are certain things like reasonable adjustments, but I'll come on to that in another video. But going back to schools, if you talk about disability, people will appreciate it more because they'll understand what it is that people like myself are going through. And it's just little conversations that, oh, why can't we do such and such, the building, and that would allow us to have more staff and to accommodate staff in a wheelchair, just like big entrances in buildings, posters that you are to a level that they can read, and do more interactive with children.